Well, hello and welcome to the show. We're going to have fun this week. We're talking about trail riding in extreme conditions, uphill and down. What's it take? What should you be aware of? All of that's coming up right here on Discovering the Horseman Within.
Gonna take a ride on one true horse.
As we start talking about trail riding in steep country, I want to take a few minutes first to talk about equipment. I've seen a lot of people hurt and a lot of bad things happen because equipment was either faulty or not adjusted correctly in the first place. So we take our saddle, we put it on our horse, we've got our breast collar on, and everybody's kind of happy. Breast collar is a great place to look. When we're climbing steep country, you're going to see that breast collar doing a lot of work if your saddle's wanting to slide back. So if you put it on here and you think, well, it looks pretty good. The problem is, reach down here, look at all the slack you've got in the pole strap. What happens is your saddle slides back, it pulls this up. As this comes up, it gets into this horse's throat, it gets into his windpipe, and as it gets into his windpipe, it shuts off his air. And I've seen horses that end up choking out and falling over because no one paid attention to their breast collar. So to start with, adjust to the bottom of your horse's chest, right? You don't want to adjust up, you want to adjust down. I want this snug. So by getting this snug, now my breast collar's got tons of room, but it won't come up. It's doing its job. It's what I love about a pulling collar. It's designed to fit over that horse's shoulder and do its job without being restrictive. That's what I really like about it. Also, cinch adjustment on your front cinch. As I take this horse turning this way on my front cinch, the D-ring that my breast collar is hooked to needs to be centered. If it's off-centered one way or the other, it's going to get into that horse's shoulder and you're going to sore him from that buckle. Okay, so you want to be really careful of that. Then I move to the back cinch. Now, the first question to ask is, do you have to have a back cinch? No. So here's what people tell me. Oh, Ken, the back cinch keeps my saddle from tipping forward going downhill. You must not weigh much. Right? I mean, the bottom line is if you weigh more than about 50 pounds, your saddle's not going to tip forward because your saddle only weighs 50 pounds. So if you're a 50-pound person, you're going to even it out. If you're less than 50 pounds, you might have to have a back cinch. But really, the reality is that back cinch doesn't have to be there. It's not holding your saddle down on the horse's back when you come downhill. Your butt is doing that. But let's say you're like me, you have one anyways, then it needs to be snug. I have seen some really bad wrecks when you look back and you see a back cinch like this. And the problem is, throughout the course of the day, your back cinch, your horse's gut tightens up, he gets a little dehydrated, he hasn't drank as much in the last few hours, and his belly tightens up and your back cinch gets loose. Pay attention when you get off to take a break, snug that back cinch up. Another back cinch no-no. Your keeper right here. Dee Dee and I had just gotten married and we were going to go on a cruise for our honeymoon, and so I was riding all the horses I could get my hands on to make enough money to pay for this cruise and this honeymoon, and I was in a hurry, and so I had to go out and move some cows, and I saddled this colt up, and I noticed that the saddle I threw on my horse, the back cinch didn't have a keeper, but I thought it's not a big deal. So I'm going to go without it. I don't want to take the time to fix that right now. So I jumped on, I rode out, and I went to get around this little bunch of cows, and as I did, I noticed this old mama cow was pretty well on the fight, and she had a pretty good set of horns to her. And so I went around her, and I started up through this little draw, and as my horse went up, that back cinch slid back and flanked him. And when it flanked that colt with about 15 or 20 rides on him, he went to bucking right now, and he bucked up a hill like this, a little steeper and a lot taller, and he went bucking up it, and I thought, well, that's okay. We were going uphill. I could get him rode. We got about halfway up that hill, and he turned around and started back down, and things got western in a hurry. And I came off. I got knocked out. It was a real disaster. I was fine. I mean, I got up later. I was fine, but it knocked me unconscious. It was not the kind of thing you want to have happen, all because I wouldn't take the 2 minutes that it took to put a keeper on that back cinch. So in the end, I don't know how much time it took. It ruined a whole day. Plus I was pretty sore and tore up when I went on my honeymoon. So honestly, take the time it takes to check your equipment. If you're missing a keeper on your back cinch, I'll tell you what works really good. A chin strap. Chin strap works super good. I don't care if all you do is use a piece of baler twine. Do something or take that back cinch off. It doesn't need to be there. Okay, now another piece of equipment that I take with me all the time, and I don't do this just because I think I'm really Roy Rodgers. I do it because it's important to me. I carry a rope with me all the time. Now, you're not a roper. I'm okay with that. You don't need to carry a lariat. Just make sure you have some sort of heavier caliber rope. You can go down to the department store and pick up, you can pick up a 3/8 heavy nylon coil of rope and take 25 or 30 feet of it with you and just put it in your saddlebags. For me, it's always there if I need to drag a log out of the trail, if I've got to make makeshift lead ropes, halters. I've cut that lariat up several times when I had to make lead ropes for somebody, or tie something on, or tie something out of the way, or use it to make a gate or close a gate or anything like that. I carry it with me as a safety device all the time. And I can't tell you in my life how many times I've had to use it. If you're going to be out and about and you're going to be in the country away from everybody else, there are things you're going to take and things you need to be aware of. Saddlebags, and I don't have a pair on this saddle, but when I put saddlebags on my horse, I always lunge my horse first if he's never had saddlebags before, and make sure he knows what it means to pack that pair of saddlebags around. Let him flop and bang on there. It's things like that that get people hurt. One of the things that I've seen a few times scares me to death. It starts to rain a little bit, and we're all afraid that we're made out of sugar and we're gonna melt, right? So a few raindrops hit, everybody reaches for their slickers. If you've got your slicker on your saddle, I don't care how broke your horse is. Take time and step off your horse and put it on. Here's why. I've seen this. You go to put your slicker on, you put your arm through, you flip it over your head, put this arm through, your arms are locked. And right then, your perfectly good horse who's never done anything wrong is fine. But that horse over there that somebody else is on spooks and runs, and it bangs into your horse, and your horse takes off, and you have no hands. You're going to end up getting hurt. Being aware of things like that are what makes trail riding stay fun. It's what keeps us safe so that we can have a really good time as we hit steeper, rougher country. Teaching is probably one of the most joyful things I do in my life. I love to watch people learn. I love to see them change, and I love to see them make life changes, follow their dreams. That's what our apprenticeship program is all about. It's a 3-level program. We start at the apprentice level, we move to journeyman, and we finish at the master certification level. That program is about people achieving their dreams. These people just like you. That's what they're about. They're here learning so they can go home and create a career in horsemanship. When we start talking about steep country, there's really only 2 problems: going up and coming down. So over the years, I can't tell you how many people I've had tell me, Ken, my horse does really good, but we went up a steep hill the other day and everybody took off running, and he took off running, and when he got near the top, he bucked me off. That happens from a couple things. 1, your back cinch keeper. We already talked about that. 2, your horse shouldn't be running uphill in the first place. And what happens is as you run uphill, he starts to get excited. And as he gets excited, and you can see we're kind of getting there already, as he starts to get excited, he gets out of control. So what I want to do is right here, as I start uphill, my horse starts picking up speed, I just turn around. Just very simply walk back down. Well, I'm on a trail ride when it happens, okay? Did you learn to drive on a trail ride? Did you learn to drive in downtown rush hour traffic? No, you practiced at home. Right now I have Trent going through, oh, that was a little faster than I like, so I just come right back. Trent's going through driver's training right now, right? He has to put in 50 hours before he's eligible for his license. 50 hours, that's not very much. We don't think 50 hours is much time at all to drive, but 50 hours of riding would be a lot. That was better. So as he starts uphill, I want to watch, and anytime, right there, he starts to jig or trot, take him right back down. Well, what if he starts to jig downhill? Well, if he starts to jig downhill, pick up on him and check him and turn around and go back uphill. Now, sitting in your saddle is part of it. A lot of times people get nervous about the hill. And so as they start to get nervous, they squeeze up. When you squeeze up, of course your horse is going to climb faster. So really make yourself relax and just ride him up the hill. When I'm going uphill, I like to take an angle across. I think about climbing the hill myself. Going straight up, it's kind of tough. I'll zigzag back and forth here. And he's gonna have to dig. This is kind of a steep hill. So he's gonna have to dig. That's not the same as lunging, running, or bucking. So if he's digging, let him go. Zigzag back and forth here. Move him and let him find just a little angle at a time. But at any point that he starts to get out of control, just turn around and start back down. Now at a certain point, you're gonna say, Ken, we've passed a point of diminishing returns. Like, we've kind of got to commit. We're closer to the top than we are to the bottom. And that's true. And it's completely okay. Be careful not to take a hold of him on that hill. If you get on the edge of that hill and you lift on him really hard and he comes up, you're going over backwards and it's going to be a wreck, right? So don't do that. Ride that horse up, and when you're ready to start down, what I do, so the old adage, oh, let your horse pick his way, he'll stay safe. Not necessarily. I've seen that turn into a real bad wreck. I always pick my route. I like a fairly direct route. As I come down this hill, I want this horse to go fairly directly. Now, one of the things that freaks people out is their saddle starts to slide forward. If your saddle's sliding forward, that's happening because your horse is using his whole front end. So hurry him up. Right here, push with your legs, but lift with your hand a little bit. Coming down, you can get away with lifting more, but push with your legs and tell him, hurry that seat up, get your butt underneath of you. Don't move your feet any faster, just get your butt underneath of you. Now, I'm practicing, so I'm gonna turn right around and take him back uphill. And you see him start to speed up. No, we're not going. We're gonna change directions. As I come downhill, get that hind end underneath you. I like a good strong walk. So we'll turn around and we'll start back up that hill again. And I want him to just go up, nice and easy, calm and quiet, and steady. Good. I don't want him nervous, so I don't dare be nervous. Stop and let him smell the roses a little bit. Stop and smell the roses yourself. Walk forward. Don't stay there so long that he gets antsy. The last thing I want to do is run up somebody's tail, right? Stop and smell the roses. Let him kind of enjoy the ride. Ride up the rest of the way. As I ride him up here, coming up on this particular horse is more difficult than going down. Lots of times going down is where you get into trouble. And here's why. As you start down the hill, going up you weren't looking down. Going up you were fine. My good friend Ernie Rodina tells me all the time, Ken, I'm scared of heights and I don't want to ride with you in the hills. You know what I tell everybody? I tell Ernie this all the time. You know what a hill is? It's a flat spot turned on its edge. Everybody gets worried about the hill, and that's what creates the problem. Do I lean back? Do I lean forward? What do I do? Sit up straight. Let me show you what I mean. If you sit up straight, as this horse rides down the hill, your body tilts with the angle of the horse. I'm not leaning back, right? I'm not the man from Snowy River. I'm sitting upright. My horse is leaning down. That puts me on more of an angle. The steeper the hill gets, the more the angle becomes. So you've seen pictures of me running horses downhill. I like to run downhill. If I have an excuse or a reason, I like to do that. The steeper the hill gets, the more fun it is, right? So as I come down here again, I'm gonna take my horse back up, and this time we're gonna take a little different route. Right there, he starts to get strong, so I just change his direction a little bit. Hand down, let him walk. As long as he's walking, I'm fine. Change his direction. And some of my friends that have cowboyed all their lives say, Ken, don't worry about this uphill and down business. If you ride him on the ranch all day, he'll be so tired he'll walk up the hills at night. That's true. That's very true. The problem is that's not where a lot of us end up, right? And what if I don't survive the hills for the first 5 hours? That'd be bad. Till he gets tired. I want to keep this horse safe. So I want to find a small spot like this where I can practice and bring him along. Now, this time I want to shoot straight down. I like to come straight down, and the steeper the better. It gets their hind end underneath of them. And the more I can get in soft dirt and steep ground, I love to get that horse sitting down and push that hind end. Think about opening your legs, your knees, and push that horse's hind end into the ground with your seat, but don't be leaning way back. Just think, drive him underneath of you and take him straight down that hill. Well, that seemed a little fast. It did seem a little fast. So we'll go back up again. What I liked about it is it got his hind end under us. So even though it was a touch faster than maybe I wanted, it got his hind end camped underneath of us. So my saddle stays flat. When your saddle starts falling forward is 100% related to your horse dropping that front end into the ground. And so I learned that several years ago. I had a very good friend of mine. They run a big ranch in really steep country. And so I was riding with them for the day, and they gave me a horse to ride. And he said, Ken, this horse has 2 problems I want you to work on. The first problem is he won't stay on the trail. He said the second problem is you can't keep the saddle in place. He said when you go downhill particularly, he starts zigzagging and trying to get off the trail. Here's what I discovered. The saddle was coming up over the horse's withers so bad that it was making them nervous. And so they were looking at the downhill side, and then they were hugging to the uphill side, and their body moving back and forth was zigzagging the horse. When I sat straight in the middle, I never had to deal with him coming off the trail. But what I did have to deal with was every 2 minutes, get off and readjust my saddle. And so what happened is I was coming downhill and I was readjusting my saddle every couple minutes. And as I came to a hill about like this, I thought, well, this is dumb. There was a flat spot down below. I thought, I'm just gonna hurry down and try to go fast enough down the hill that I beat my saddle to the bottom. What happened? Saddle never moved. I tried it on every hill all the way down. It continued to work all the way to the bottom. So in the 10 or 15 years since that day, I've continued to practice that every time I run into that problem, and it's continued to work. Right there, I stopped him. He started to get anxious and wants to hurry to the bottom. I stop him right here. Just stop him. He's, well, this is hard for me to stand here, Ken. You gotta let me go. One of my all-time favorite people and actors is Wilford Brimley. And if you watch Wilford Brimley in the Louis L'Amour movie, Crossfire Trail, he's always saying, slow down, son. You'll get a more harmonious outcome. I love that saying. I say it to the kids that work for me, to my interns, to my apprentices, and right here I'm saying it to my horse. Slow down, son. You'll get a more harmonious outcome. It's a way of thinking and a way of living your life, right? And it transcends into everything we do. And right here, this horse needs to just learn to slow down. I don't want to hold him. I don't want to make him jig. I want to just get him to stand right here, nice and quiet. Now, that's enough. Walk forward. I don't want to get myself in a dangerous situation. I need to work through it. Stop right here. Let him have some success. No, stand still. Let him have some success. Walk forward. It's a 20-minute lesson. You can practice it for 3 hours. I don't care how long you practice it. The more you practice it, the better it's going to be. The more you practice it, the better your horse is going to get. Stand still. We're not going to jig. Right there. Step off and give that complete big release. Let him relax and let the anxiety go away. so much for joining me again this week. I have so much fun bringing this show to you. I appreciate you watching it. Until next time, may God bless the trails you ride.
Find out more about Ken McNabb Horsemanship at kenmcnabb.com.
That one true horse, the perfect partner built to ride. One true horse, a bond that cannot be denied. You would search forever just to have the chance to take a ride.